Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this interview. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Kate for her 17th interview in her Years of Growth series.
Oh.
I know. And this is her first in her third year. So we have a lot to celebrate. But Kate, first I'm going to ask, what's awesome?
Everything, life. I'm just loving this downtime that we're having to be home. I see it as such a gift, I guess is the best way to say it. I just love being able to be home and do the stuff that I need to do. And it's not like it's forced. It just happens. I'm in the Enchanted Circle at that part where I'm supposed to let go of all the to-do lists, and I've let that all go, and it's been great. And a lot of inspiration has been hitting in that time. And I notice every time you tell us to do that, I get more inspiration. So a lot of inspiration is happening, and a lot of fun stuff getting done in the middle of working, and just a lot of amazing things. Like I'm here with my daughter today planting flowers. My son is doing awesome in California. I mean, everything's amazing. Everything's amazing. Life.
Yay! It is amazing.
It is.
And yesterday was your birthday when we're recording.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, it was. I can't forget that.
And so I have to ask this question because I actually don't even know the answer. Has life ever been this amazing around your birthday before?
No. Nope. No, it's
Yay!
something that and it's my favorite holiday. I call it a holiday.
Yeah, I love that.
I love my birthday. I love birthdays. And those are things I always feel like we should really celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
The other holidays I just look at it's like, yeah, we can get together and spend time with family, but like this is celebration, like celebration of life and, another year and all of that stuff. This year has been very special. It's been the happiest I feel that I've been in a long time. A lot of lightness around it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not as heavy. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense. And it ties into, as you were saying, what's awesome. I had a question I wanted to ask you. And that is, you mentioned like every time I put let it go, there's like more and there's inspiration that opens up. Like how is letting go now different than what you thought it was? I mean, it's not different than you thought it was. It just looks like you have to let go of some things in order to like see other things to let go of, right? So we talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's so much easier now than it was in the past because it was always, because I think my other interviews, I've talked about it where I was a sales rep before and we had to like get these numbers and do this and do that and the how, as we talk about. And now it doesn't feel like, now I don't even think twice about it because I know in the beginning it was kind of, well, if I don't do this, how do I know something's not going to come to me? If I don't do this. So there was always that fear. Or the trust. There wasn't enough trust. Now it's just like, oh, okay, I got to do with my away list. And I have not thought about it once. Like you're like, for the next amount of days, we're going to get rid of our to-do list. And I was like, oh, okay, this is awesome. The day that I started doing that, that's when a lot of inspiration started hitting. And I was like, this is why she has us do it. That's exactly what, and it always comes at the right time. It's not like, it's not like, oh, this is perfect. So it's much easier. And I think it's just because of that trust muscle has been, it's definitely growing and it's always another level. Right. And I always say this at every interview, I believe it's just a deeper level. And, I don't have that, oh God, if I don't do this, I'm not going to get, a client or I'm not going to get this. It hasn't even crossed my mind. I haven't even thought about it. So it feels good.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then that's what another light, right? It kind of, the lightness that I feel, it doesn't feel heavy. So that's part of it.
I love that. And because you just, not just, but you really went through the first part of the program, which I've added since the last time that you went through it.
Yeah.
I had added that in, which was all inspired, of course, but, and
of course.
I loved the speed at which you went through it, because I remember the first time you went through, it was like, I'm like, hold on. Like, even when you started the Enchanted Business Circle, which was like,
oh my God.
I was like, oh my gosh, like stop doing 10 assignments in one day, right?
I can't stop laughing. Because that's exactly what I was thinking of when I made the comment on one of the posts that you made, like one assignment a day. And I laughed. Literally, I had tears. I was laughing so hard because I knew that was directed at me. I knew that was written for me.
Yeah, you were probably the reason why I got added in.
I was like, that is so me. Oh, that was so funny. But, it's funny this time around. I go when I feel inspired. Like I wasn't even doing it every day. I was doing it like, I got to check in. I was like, this feels good. Let's do it. And so I feel like my responses were deeper at that point because it wasn't like I have to do it every day at a certain time, like I was doing in the past. And now it's just, I sign in when it feels inspired to. Like I get that little whisper. It's time to check in. It's time to do this. I'm like, oh, this is totally different compared to what I was doing before.
Yes.
Yeah. And it feels good. It feels right. Like I don't feel like, oh, I didn't sign in today. That's not good. Like last time I felt that way. Like if I don't do it at this certain time, that kind of goes along with the to-do list, kind of letting that go. I just sign in when it feels good. Which I was like, wow, this is awesome. And it feels more, me when I did it that way, because it's coming on inspiration instead of, I don't want to call it desperation. It wasn't, it was just planned.
Right. Well, it was, and it was in a way, it was desperation because it was, I have to get there. It was like that.
True.
You might not have classified it as desperation, but it was that energy of like, oh my God, I got to get there, versus now you're like, no, being and like being in the work is what makes it happen, not getting 50 assignments done.
That's a great way of seeing it. That was an aha for me right there. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It was desperation. So yeah.
Which is awesome. It's not, right? Which is so awesome. And I want listeners to hear that, right? Like when you do the work, it naturally changes. Like I couldn't have told you like, oh, Kate, don't do this from desperation. Just let go and do it when it's like, there's no way I could have told you that 2 years ago.
No,
like you would have, right. you wouldn't even have like, it would have been like I was talking another language. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I would look at you like I had 3 heads. So like, what do you mean? I have to check in every day. What are you talking about?
Right.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
definitely. It's totally, I see it night and day. Totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Which is awesome. Because it's how we grow, but we just want to like leap to this place, right? But if we gave people a list of, and we're going to talk about a lot of awesome things that are happening, but if we said like all the reason, like, oh, you're working from inspiration, not desperation, you're letting go of this, like you can't just leap to that because it doesn't make sense. And in your brain is like, that's not going to work.
Exactly. And when you say that, like the only way I can explain that desperation versus inspiration is in the past when I was trying to get clients and trying to get my numbers up, it was coming from desperation because they were not the perfect clients. All the ones that I've had so far this year, and we're only in May, have been amazing clients. I could deal with 100 of them if I could. So there's not one that I'm just like, oh, I need to talk to her and send her on her way. I don't have any of, because I don't want to call it firing. I will just let clients go that were not a good fit. I don't want to just keep collecting their money if they're not doing the work.
Right.
So I'm not there now. It's like, okay, I haven't had anybody that I've had that thought cross my mind that I need to have a talk with them and say, listen, I think we need to do this at a later date for you when you're ready. And I haven't had to have that discussion at all this year at all.
Yay. That is amazing.
It is amazing.
It is so awesome because it's one of the things I will see that, just sometimes when I pop on Facebook, I'm in like some coaches groups or whatever. And I will see that like, how do you not attract clients or like, what do you do when you have a problem client? And I'm like, I don't have this problem. Like, I don't have this problem. And it's not that it never, and once in a while, like there might be one person a year, right?
Yep.
But it's like, I don't attract them. Like that's the answer, right? But that is the deeper part of the answer. It goes back to that. Am I so desperate that either I overlook or I'm unwilling to like put the words in my sales page that would deter them, right? Am I, worried I'll offend them? And so they end up getting through the filter, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
It's just so easy now. It's just awesome. And the fact that I'm home and I get to work out between clients and I'm working out throughout the day. I mean, it's just been, it's like heaven. It's like I get paid to work out.
You do get paid to work out, which is an intention we've been setting and saying, right?
Exactly. And it's going to continue.
I love it. You also get paid to have fun, right?
I sure do. Absolutely. And that's what we talked about before we started recording. I was visiting, I was going for a bike ride and I was having fun. I was outside in the sun with one of my good girlfriends and I stopped along the way to check in and let people know where we were at because it was a long bike ride. And I had an email. You have $340 in your account. And I'm like, yes, okay. Got paid to have fun. And then the next day I was visiting family, same email, another one came through and I was like, this is awesome. This is so cool. And I didn't do anything to get it because I haven't, since we did the to-do list, I haven't done any advertising. I haven't done any podcasts either. Like my podcasts I've let go for a couple weeks now too. And
how does that feel?
It feels good. I have 2 already recorded. And it's not like I need material. I have them. I just haven't put them together. And I was like, never once say, I have to get that out every Sunday.
Yes.
Because usually I do. But the last 2 weeks, I haven't put anything out. And I was like, it's okay. No big deal.
Right. And in case you missed that, she didn't do the thing and she's still making money, right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And I didn't post on Facebook or my social media about workshops or this is my class. This is what I'm doing. I haven't done any of that. And I'm still getting clients.
Yes. Because how would you describe it? Why are you still getting clients in your own words?
In my own words, it's because I am being my future self. And so basically being in the energy, I'm putting that energy out and I'm a big believer in the energy you put out is the energy you get back. So I'm putting out my future self energy and that's what I'm attracting is my future self's clients. And also like when I was talking about before, when I was coming from desperation, I was getting those desperate clients that were not a perfect fit. So that's why now, if you make that connection, that's why I was getting those kind of clients. And now I'm getting the perfect clients because I'm not coming from desperation. I'm coming from inspiration. So to tie that all together, basically it's just been, it feels good because I'm not forcing anything and I'm not doing it because I have to cross it off a list. So I'm doing it as it feels good.
Yes. And being your future self.
And being my future self, because that's what she does. So she plays and she works out and she does all that in the midst of having clients.
Yes. In fact, I remember a script, which is actually, this just hit me, like riding a bike with a girlfriend, right? And And
it's the same girlfriend I rode with that day.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's who I was picturing in my script was her. Yep. Isn't that cool?
That is so cool. And
it just gave me the goosebumps.
Me too, because you can't make that up, right? And you can't, and we did it very fluid. We did it in 5 years and it was a scene we built. And yet here it is coming true it's not zero effort. It's by being your future self, which does take effort, sometimes the non-effort, right? The effort to not be an effort. But it happens so organically and feels so good.
Absolutely. And we started that script almost a year ago.
I was going to say, was that a year? Like,
yep.
Yeah.
It was my last scripting assignment that we had. And that was before we went to Arizona.
Yes.
And that's the one that I had done even after our, my workshop. That's the one that I went with. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
It is so awesome.
It's been almost a year.
Yeah. And so a year. And so not everything is in there, which is what people have a hard time, but like, that's pretty cool. That riding a bike and all that does is fuel, like our future self will give us all those experiences until it can give us the full thing. Right.
Absolutely.
And then what happens is now you're like, oh, I always like it's going to happen the next time. And you're like, oh, I always make money when I'm on a bike ride with you. And you start to expect it. And that's what starts creating it even more. So, right.
And it's, what's super funny now that we're talking, and I love how when we have these, a lot of ahas and things unravel. So that's the same girl that this weekend I went camping with.
Yes.
When I went camping, everything that was in that script is around that. The only difference was the guys were there with us instead of just being a girl weekend. So the stream was along our campsite. The wind, the sun, everything that I had scripted was this weekend, but the guys were there.
Amazing. And had you scripted with that spot in mind?
No.
I didn't think so. I was like, I don't even think it was in that state, maybe.
No, it was supposed to be a different state, but it was the exact script. But like she got up, it wasn't a house, it was tents that we were in. So she got up, I was making coffee.
Yes.
And she came out. Usually it was supposed to be her making coffee, but I mean, everything, it had all the elements. And she came out, sat with me by the fire, and we just sat there and chatted before the guys got up. I mean, it was just really fun. I was like, oh my God. And as you're talking, I was like, oh my God, it was the script this weekend.
Yes.
We went for a bike ride and we loaded up. We went on an adventure through the woods. I mean, it was just, yeah. Yep. That was the script this weekend because everything, it had the coffee in there. It had the whole, like I got up and meditated. She came out. I mean, it was just, yeah.
It was it, cool. Right? Isn't that cool? Is this your first experience with that? I think it is, right?
Yes, it is.
How does it feel?
It feels awesome because it's funny that you say that because my other scripts, it was bits and pieces. This is a full script. So,
yes.
Oh my God, I got goosebumps. That is awesome. That is so awesome.
Yay. And this is the power of like doing the thing for a long time. And you've mentioned like the depth and stuff is, people are, I did an interview a couple months ago and someone was like, what do you do when somebody gets tired of their manifesting? I'm like, you keep doing it. Like, because, like that's just a sign that you're like needing to go deeper. Right.
Yeah. Because, well, even if you say it that way too, so that script that I wrote, I did that until I started the Manifest 10K again. And I stopped scripting it when I started the Manifest 10K again.
Yes.
So because I remember when I first started Manifest 10K, you said, stop the scripting.
Yes.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop the script. It feels good. So I'm just going to let the script go. And I had been doing it that whole time.
Yeah. So
that whole period. Yeah. So
months,
what, 8 or 9 months?
Yes.
10 months maybe?
Yes. Which is,
long time.
A long time. And a lot of people get, so now I've shifted things and you do have to do scripts longer than I used to let you guys. Cause I realized I did them in a shorter time, but it's cause I scripted more per day.
Right.
So like I was always scripting versus, we do 20 minutes, which is what fits into someone's life very nicely.
Yeah.
I just had more time on my hands in the past. When I started studying myself and doing this stuff, I just had more time. And so I did more of it. Right. It is awesome. And it's awesome now to see that and to just also get what you need. Like when we talk about that, like, I'm like, oh yes, like I had forgotten how long you did that script. And so it's so powerful to even have those stories to both share with people listening that you can do the same thing and go deeper and deeper and deeper. And create it. And it's still magic, right? It's like, it's almost more magic because you've been there so many times.
And I think too, what I loved about that is because at that point I wasn't part of the Enchanted Circle still, right? So it gave me that feeling that I needed to get to, right? So it was perfect. The script was perfect. And the fact that I had a lot of stuff going on, it allowed me to dump the emotions that I needed to feel into that. Because it was all about being peaceful. It was all about, so it served its purpose at the right time. Like, that's why it was amazing. I didn't say, I've been doing this for more than 60 days. It didn't once cross my mind. I was just like, this is what feels good. I'm going to keep doing it because it made me feel how I wanted to feel.
Yes.
Into the being my future self. So it worked out perfect.
Yay. Oh, I love that. And I love when somebody gets that experience because it's so, you can't explain. I mean, you can explain what it feels like, but until like you've gotten where you're like, oh my gosh, I scripted this whole thing. This is amazing. Yep. Like it's just different, right?
Totally different. Yeah. And so awesome. And it's funny because I even thought that when I started Manifest 10K again, I said, I want to stop scripting so that I can open up a little more. It felt like it was the right thing to do. So, and it certainly was. It really was. I didn't think, oh my God, if I'm not going to script, it's not going to happen. None of that crossed my mind either. So it's been a total shift compared to what I was. I mean, because like we said, I'm starting my third year. So what it was a year ago or even a year prior, it was, it's totally different.
Totally different. I mean, and now we're getting to see the really cool stuff because you mentioned it was a year ago since Arizona, since that scripting workshop, which we mentioned, I think, on the last episode, and you can go back and find it, Kate's 16th interview, but we talked about it, like it opened up a really big space that maybe you weren't ready to step into, right?
Yep.
And so it was a year of really stepping into it. And part of that, I think, was scripting that, because that's what scripting does, is it lets us know we're okay. And it seems crazy to have to say that, but to somebody, when it hasn't been that happy, when it's the happiest you've ever been, it is scary for our brain, right? It doesn't make logical sense, but it is scary.
It's because it's uncomfortable because you're not used to being there. You want to go back to, it's kind of like any other situation where it's a change. So it's not comfortable. Even if it's a good change, it's still not comfortable. And so your body wants to go where it's been comfortable. It doesn't want to be where you are growing. And I think that's exactly what I was going through. Yeah. So it feels good now. I can step into her britches now.
Yay. And put on her jean jacket. I was looking at that episode.
That was so funny.
Yes.
That was a fun story.
Oh, I love that. And so what would you say, I'm going to even say this to Kate, like 2.5 years ago, about how long, and it's not how, I don't mean how long in the long time, but like how long it takes to grow into that person you think you want to be tomorrow.
Yeah. So, and I feel that every stage is a little different. Because I felt in the beginning, I grew so fast and I was able to step into it really fast and really easy. The one that was a little bit of a resistance was the Arizona one. And that one, I think, because it was such big leaps and bounds, was the reason. And it was a lot of my future self that I was stepping into. And that, to me, I think was scary and uncomfortable. I think more than scary. It was uncomfortable. I didn't know if I was ready for that. And so there was a lot of resistance there. But yeah, I think that looking back, I mean, I can see where all the growth happened and I see the patterns of what happens.
Yes. Yay. I get so excited when someone can see that, because in the beginning I help you see them. And when you can start to see them on your own, keep going. Yeah. Because you can see it and you can, like catch it isn't the right word, but you can, okay, this is what's happening. I don't have to go down the really long road of resistance or the really long road of, spinning my wheels. I can just handle it.
Yes. And that, so the most recent one was before this COVID, the pandemic stuff started happening. So same thing, almost exactly a year ago, same thing happened where David bought a car, and then all of a sudden the finances was, because other stuff started popping up. The finances kind of was like, oh shit. Excuse me. Sorry. I shouldn't
It's okay.
swear.
It's fine. You can swear on this.
My I've always kept it clean. I don't know why. Then we had a really bad spell when that happened. Well, guess what? Same thing happened just before this pandemic. He bought a car and the pandemic happened. So it was almost the same exact situation. Almost.
Yes. Yep.
But what was different was that I noticed it. I was like, okay, I remember the last time this happened. I withdrew. I totally was not being my future self. I wasn't accountable. I wasn't like involved. I kind of hid my numbers or not so much hid. I just didn't look at them. So I wasn't like on top of things. So this time I was like, okay, so I sat down with David. I was like, okay, this is what I have. This is what I need. And this is, and then he did the same exact thing. He goes, okay, well, this is what we have. This is how long we're going to be good for. And this is what I need. And we've realized we have had a lot more than what we needed. And then because of that, I got approved for a PPP loan. I got, the stimulus check. I mean, so it was seamless for us because I was more open. So I saw the pattern happening. It was happening. And I think even if we rewind to when I first started working with you, I was kind of going through the same situation. He didn't buy a car. I actually bought the truck. So it was always a vehicle that showed up. And then something financially would happen. And it's definitely created with us within our brain, without a doubt. We create that situation. And I brought it up to him. Thankfully, he does a lot of this stuff too. And I brought it up to him. I said, do you see the pattern now? And he's like, oh, yeah. So we were able to actually really talk about it. And so it was a much smoother transition now. But I think we had to have those discussions to get to this point, obviously. Right. And it's kind of like what you make us do, talk about the big money discussion. And I remember the first time I had that with him, it wasn't smooth. It didn't go as I planned. And it's almost like he didn't even want to do it. And now he's fine with it. It's just so funny how, looking back now that you're saying that, but I do see the patterns. I withdraw, and I kind of stop looking at stuff. And that's just before big growth, it's always before